I'm frequently asked whether AI is going to replace humans in the translation business and put Rapport International out of work. Well, it's not the case. It's just getting more and more complex to answer the question. I did an earlier video on where you can use AI for translation, and this video is the 10 places where AI won't replace humans. So, number one, if culture is relevant to the meaning, you can't use automated translation for that because it can't pick up on innuendos. For example, Jimba Ite, it's one of my favorite examples. It's the tagline or an old tagline for Mazda in Japan. And it means that moment that the warrior is on the horse riding across the plains at the bow pulled at a full arch, and he's ready to shoot, and it's that moment of flow. And so it's an appropriate tagline for a car. When I first put it into Google Translate or used AI for it, it said danger. This next time I put it in, it said two horse. So I don't want a tagline for my car that says either danger or two horse. And most recently, it's just come back as Jinva. So it can't gather all the information it needs to go for the translation. Another example is when Electrolux vacuum cleaner came from the UK over the United States, and they thought they'd use their tagline, "It sucks," but that had a different cultural meaning in the United States, saying it's really bad, so don't buy it. Second place is you creative types out there. It's going to be hard to use AI for that. For example, there was the mist curling iron that Clairol put out, and when they took it over to Germany, they didn't know that mist meant manure. So it just didn't fly at all. I don't want manure in my hair. Another example was the Got Milk campaign. They translated into Tiene leche. The intended meaning is, are you lactating? It's not hay leche of, do you have milk? Number three, world changers. So any political negotiations, legal conflict, high stakes, you don't want to use it. One horrible example was World War II with the atomic bomb, when the US sent the message, surrender now, or there'll be complete devastation. The Japanese leader said mogusatsu to the interpreter, saying, let's just give it a minute. I need to sit here, think about this, not move, solve for a little bit of time. And the interpreter didn't listen to that. They translated into something like, yeah, we're waiting. And so the US got that and dropped the atomic bomb. So it's a horrible example of bad interpretation. Another one, we were testing AI in the industry, and we tested a bad human translator, one done by Google Translate, one done by ChatGPT, and one done by ChatGPT and Google Translate, to see if you could use one to edit the other. The bad human translator, you could understand what the meaning was, but there was some typos in there, so that was a red flag. The Google Translate and the ChatGPT were both clunky in different ways. The one that was done by Google Translate and ChatGPT sounded fantastic, read great, but it completely missed the meaning. And the translation was something confidential and proprietary between two countries that are at war. It was an analysis of that, and it would have been completely wrong. So if it's high stakes, something to do with world changing, don't do it. Number four, if you're a consultant and you're doing research, it has to be high quality, and you're going to use the testing and the insights for the communications and decisions you're going to make. Use professional translators. You don't want that to just start an error that's going to continue all the way down the line. Number five is in law, courts, legal agreements, interpretation of law. It's not dependable because the laws across the world are not the same. There was an example from 1840 that's still influencing today between the British and the Maori tribes. And they had a bad interpretation of the contract that they both signed, within a disagreement about who would be ruling the area. So years later, there's still a disagreement about that. Language evolution, this is interesting. Dictionary.com has announced that halfway through 2024, they've launched 1,700 new words. So there's new ideas and concepts and things that are being developed, and there's words that are being retired, not near as many as that are coming in. Some of the new words this year are girl dinner, slow fashion, Barbiecore, and climate breakdown. So if you don't know what they mean, go Google them and find out, or go to dictionary.com. Language development, not only are new words added in, but new ideas are coming in. When we do a patent translation, We have to work with the client to figure out how they want to name the patent. Do they want to leave it in the original language? Do they want to come up with a new word to patent it under that? Or do they want to describe it in the language that they're going into and then put parentheses and put it in English? So depending on what you're patenting is how you'd handle that to give you the protection that you want in the patent. So any new ideas and developments, that's how language is going to develop. Number 8 is a literary translation. I heard a really funny story from a friend of mine, Paul Greenspan. If you ever watch this, you get credit for this. He was traveling over in Japan many years ago, and he came across a book that had been translated. In English, it was the old favorite that we know, Grapes of Wrath, and the Japanese translation came up with The Angry Raisin. So there is kind of a literal translation. I'm not sure if angry reason has any cultural meaning at all in Japanese, but you can see why they got grapes of wrath, but it doesn't quite make sense to capture what John Steinbeck was originally meaning with the title. Okay, so that brings us on to number 9. Training your AI in certain languages. You don't want to use AI translation to do that, because what we're finding out that the internet is a huge source for training a lot of language learning models, LLMs, and so many websites have the Google Translate plugin in, which just blows my mind because there's so many other ways to handle that, that it's picking up these bad translations and spitting back bad translations. And if you're using that to train your models, then you're getting just a big mess of bad. So make sure you're using high quality translation that has been reviewed before you actually use it to train your models. And then number 10 is research. Validate, validate, validate. Even in English to English only research, we find some stuff that we just know is wrong because of our expertise or because we research it and find out that it was wrong by using legitimate sources. So make sure you validate and use expert humans when you've got content that's really important so they understand the subject matter and they're not taking shortcuts. Many of our translators have masters and PhDs in the subject matter that they work, and they are fully bilingual. They can flip from one language to the other and quote grammar dictionaries at me to make sure it's appropriate. So these people are professional and they know how to write. Another reminder on using AI, don't use it on anything proprietary or confidential because you're putting it out there without an ownership on it and you're releasing it to the world. So there's been problems with that with people releasing code out there. So be very, very careful. Everything goes into public use. So thank you for joining me for the 10 places where AI won't replace humans. If you have any questions, put it in chat below, like the video, reach out to me. Always happy to talk about this topic.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like it and share it, or you can keep watching. And don't miss out on new posts by subscribing to our channel. And if you want to talk to Rapport International about all your translation and interpretation needs or about growing your business into new markets, use the link below for a free 30-minute consultation.